Grade 12s. My name is Viola from the Distinction Bound Student, and I'd like to welcome you to Lesson 91 from the Distinction Bound Student Economics Grade 12 textbook, written by Carden Madzokere. In this lesson, we are moving on to Unit 3 of Industrial Development Policies of South Africa. Today's lesson is South Africa's Endeavours, and it is a possible essay. As usual, we will start off by revising homework activity 80 given in Lesson 90 linked down below. Question 1. Discuss the objectives of regional development in South Africa. 8 marks. What does 8 marks mean to you? It should tell you that at least 4 points are required and you may be awarded 2 marks each. Let's look at the objectives of regional development as required by our homework question. To promote the development and structural adjustment of regions whose development is lagging behind. To support the economic and social conversion of areas experiencing structural difficulties. To reduce unequal development of economic activities within a country. To stimulate development in poorer areas. To implement and coordinate the implementation of national and regional industrial policies. To prevent new imbalances from emerging. Let's dive into today's lesson on Spatial Development Initiative, SDIs. SDI refers to National Government Initiative Program aimed at unlocking inherent and underutilized economic development potential of certain specific spatial locations in South Africa, or Regional Development Initiative in South Africa to attract infrastructure and business investments to neglected and underdeveloped areas. SDIs are regional strategies that are led by either local or provincial government. The Department of Trade and Industry, DTI, is the main driver of both SDIs and IDZs in collaboration with other bodies such as Department of Water Affairs and Forestry, DWAF, the Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, and parastatals such as Eskom and Telkom. SDIs are links between economic hubs and regions in a country, and these links provided by SDIs are known as growth corridor. They involve strategic initiatives by government, and its key objectives are as follows. To stimulate economic activity in selected strategic locations throughout South Africa. To generate economic growth and foster sustainable industrial development. To create long-term employment in underdeveloped areas with high poverty and unemployment. To develop projects of infrastructure in certain areas and finance them by way of lending and private sector investment. To develop the inherent economic potential of certain areas. To ensure rapid planning and delivery. To restructure the apartheid space economy. To maximize various types of private sector investment. To exploit South Africa's underutilized location and economic advantages for export-orientated growth of SDIs. To establish private-public partnerships, PPPs. To foster sustainable industrial development in areas where poverty and unemployment are the highest. The SDI focuses on high-level support in areas where socio-economic conditions require concentrated government assistance where inherent economic potential exists. That's it with the objectives. Let's now look at the aims of SDIs. To stimulate economic growth and employment. To use economic projects to stimulate economic growth. And lastly, to fast-track investment. As of 2014, there were 11 SDIs in South Africa, and they are as follows. 1. KwaZulu-Natal SDI, Industrial. 2. Wild Coast SDI, Agritourism. 3. Fish River SDI, Industrial, including East London. 4. West Coast Investment Initiative, Industrials and Agri-Processing, Saldana, Minerals and Metals, especially steel. 5. Coast to Coast Corridor, Transport and Tourism, Walvis Bay, Namibia, through Johannesburg to Maputo. 6. Platinum SDI, Industrial and Agri-Processing, Rustenburg. 7. Phalaborwa SDI, Industrial and Agri-Tourism, Phalaborwa. 8. Gauteng Special Economic Zone, Information Technology, Telecommunication. 9. Maputo Development Corridor, Industrial and Agri-Processing, from Gauteng through Mpumalanga to Maputo, Mozambique, Mining, Tourism and Transport. 10. Lubombo SDI, Agri-Tourism, from St. Lucia along the coast to Port du Quiro, Mozambique. 11. Richards Bay Initiative, Mining and Agri-Processing including Durban and Pietermaritzburg, Minerals and Metals especially aluminium, auto components, and subtropical fruit. Now that we know what SDIs are, let's move on to Industrial Development Zone, IDZs, and see if we can easily distinguish them from SDIs. Industrial development refers to policies that are aimed at encouraging industrial investment and greater industrial efficiency. IDZs, on the other hand, are geographically designed, purpose-built industrial sites providing services tailored for export-oriented industries. The distinction is clear already. Physically enclosed and linked to an international port or airport, specifically designed to attract new investment in export-driven industries. Falls outside domestic customs zones and able to import items free of customs and trade restrictions, add value, and then export their goods. Development and management done by private sector. Government IDZ policy designed to boost exports and jobs. IDZs aim to encourage economic growth, attract foreign investment in industrial development, facilitate international competitiveness regarding manufacturing. What are the aims of the IDZs in the South African economy? To increase exports by encouraging manufacturing and foreign trade. To strengthen surrounding economies by utilizing local banks, residential areas, and shops. To increase employment within our country. To raise the standard of living in the country. To attract new investment in export-driven industries. To encourage economic growth by attracting foreign investment in industrial development. Duty-free importation of production-related raw materials and inputs. A zero rate of VAT on supplies procured from South African sources. Government incentive schemes. Reduced taxation and exemption for some activities or products. Enhance competitiveness of local industries, immediate environment. Promote and develop links between domestic and zone-based industries. Enable exploitation of resource-intensive industries. Examples of IDZs. As of 2014, South Africa has 6 designated industrial development zones, IDZs, namely 1. Coega near Port Elizabeth, steel and automobile components. 2. East London, automotive and general manufacturing. 3. Richards Bay, metals. 4. Ortambo International Airport, high-tech industries. 5. Saldanha Bay, steel, and the recently designated 6. Dubai Trade Port IDZ. Now let's look at Special Economic Zone, SEZs. Special economic zones can be defined as a geographically demarcated area where specific economic activities have been identified to be developed. These areas may then enjoy incentives, such as tax relief and support systems to promote industrial development. There are many categories of SEZs, and in many instances different countries use different terminology. The following categories have been identified: a free port, free trade, industrial parks, science and technology, and finally sector development zones. A free port is an area which borders a port of entry, seaport and airport, where imported goods are exempted from customs duties. When these goods move from the free area to a non-free area in the country, they are subject to import duties. Free trade is part of an area where goods are not subject to the usual customs control such as import duty and taxes. Industrial parks are infrastructure such as buildings set aside for the sole use of production and business services that will focus on attracting new businesses. Science and technology. Infrastructure set aside for development of knowledge-based businesses that are linked to institutions such as universities. Normally it incorporates business management and other services, and a technology link to the institution. Sector development zones, areas that focus on specific industries. Now what is a corridor? A corridor is a tract of land that forms a passageway allowing access from one area to another and particular advantages to mining, manufacturing, and other businesses. Examples of domestic corridors are Lubombo, West Coast, and Fish River. Corridors beyond the South African borders, SADC, are Maputo Development Corridor, Mozambique. Let us now move on to reasons in support of South Africa's regional integration in Southern Africa. The first reason is to have political and stable neighbors, have important export markets, and a future source of water and energy supplies. Second reason is that integration may be a precondition for support from foreign investors, donors, and multilateral institutions. Third reason is that a robust regional transport system and a solid infrastructure base hold the key to attracting investment into the SADC region. And lastly, for improving competitiveness and promoting trade. Advantages from corridor development are as follows. Greater levels of economic efficiency and productivity. Corridor developments will often occur due to private investment. Integration of land use and transport planning will lead to generally efficient integration. Efficient urbanization leads to efficient use of land and promotion of efficient transport system. Lastly, in this lesson, we will look at incentives to promote industrial development. First one is Small and Medium Enterprise Development Program, SMED. This is an incentive that provides a tax-free cash grant for investment in industries in South Africa. For example, manufacturing, agricultural, processing, aquaculture, and tourism. The second one is Critical Infrastructure Fund Program, CIF. A tax-free cash grant incentive for projects that are designed to improve critical infrastructure in South Africa. For example, for installation, construction of infrastructure, payment of employees, materials directly consumed during installation. Third incentive is duty-free incentives for businesses operating in the IDZs, aimed at export-oriented manufacturing to enhance competitiveness and promote foreign and local direct investment. The fourth one is Foreign Investment Grant, FIG. It is a cash grant to assist foreign investors who invest in new manufacturing businesses in South Africa, qualifying cost of relocating new machinery and equipment from abroad. Fifth incentive is Strategic Investment Projects, SIP. It attracts investment from local and foreign entrepreneurs with the following industry sectors: manufacturing, computer, research, and engineering. The sixth one is Skill Support Program, SSP. Cash grant for skills development, encourage greater investment in training in general and stimulate development of new advanced skills. The seventh and last incentive is Black Businesses Supplier Development Program, BBSDP. This incentive consists of 80% cash grant provides Black-owned enterprises with access to training to improve management effectiveness of their enterprises. We have finally come to the end of our lesson. As usual, we conclude with homework activity 81 on page 192. Question 1. What do we call the process whereby indigenous people are empowered in development? 2 mark. Question 2. What do we call a cash grants for projects that require new, expanded, or improved infrastructure? 2 marks. Question 3. Attracting infrastructure and businesses to underdeveloped areas is known as what? 2 marks.